Hello again, everyone. Tom Nagorski in the Cipher Brief virtual studio. Good to have you with us. A top envoy from the Kremlin was at the White House this week. And with all the other news that we've been watching and covering around the world, that's a pretty startling headline that I think has kind of gone under the radar a little bit, almost got lost. But Vladimir Putin's envoy was in Washington at the White House meeting top Trump administration officials in a meeting that looked to be as much about business interests and future commerce between the U.S. and Russia as it may have been about the Ukraine war and those negotiations. So we thought it might be good to learn a little more about this man. His name is Kirill Dmitriev, and unlike other Russian envoys, he is not a professional diplomat. He's not a military man. As far as we know, he's not in the intelligence service. I don't know. But he is a businessman. And he has extensive experience in the United States. He was educated at Harvard and Stanford. He worked, among other places, at McKinsey and Goldman Sachs. We're joined today by Stanislav Kucher. He's been with us before, a longtime Russian journalist who's now in the U.S., where he is editor-in-chief of Samizdat Online. And safe to say, Stan, that Kirill Dmitriev is not, well, certainly here he's not a household name. What should we know about him? And I gather you had some, you knew him from interviews in the past. Is that right?
Hi, Tom. Hi, everyone. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I met him in 2011 at the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum. At the time, I was hosting a show on Kommersant FM radio station in Moscow and interviewing many of the business people and politicians who attended the forum. And one day, someone brought Kirill Dmitriev over to me. And you know what? He struck me as a very reserved, tightly wound type of individual. Someone who answered questions while constantly looking over his shoulder as if he's afraid he might say something he shouldn't. Mm-hmm. And I'd say that was the dominant impression he left on me. He came across as a textbook Putin-era careerist, career seeker, mm-hmm. A man absolutely determined to climb the ladder by any means necessary, willing to step over others if necessary, and terrified of slipping up. He also reminded me of Vladimir Medinsky, whom we talked about him already, another longtime acquaintance of mine and also part of Putin's circle. But compared to Dmitriev, Medinsky seemed almost daring, brave, independent, self-assured. At the same time, Dmitriev was unmistakably what we'd call a straight A student, a nerd, a green, the kind of guy who always studied hard, always prepared, and never let anyone copy his homework. I think everyone had someone like that in their class. That's exactly the kind of impression Dmitriev made on me. And later that fall, I'm sure you'd be interested to hear that, we had some more interesting episodes. For instance, I became friends with his assistant, who was also his press secretary. And one evening, we were out for a walk and happened to run into Alexei Navalny. We chatted with him, drank coffee for about 15 minutes, and then moved on. And the next day, she was summoned and grilled. She had met with Stanislav Kucher, and even worse, she had talked to Navalny. She got a serious...
This is still in 2011?
Yes, this is the summer of 2011. And she got a serious reprimand, basically an ultimatum. Either quit the company because people like that were off limits or completely out of context. So again, my initial impression of him held strong, a classic careerist, a loyal member of Putin team, someone who would build his entire life and career around proximity to power. If, for example, Evgeny Primakov, another famous Russian politician of late 90s, had been in power, Dmitriev would have gravitated towards him. If Navalny were in power, I suspect he tried to align with him too.
Recognizing excellence in national security, the Cipher Brief Honors Dinner celebrates those who've made a real difference in protecting our nation. It's an unforgettable evening with top leaders in the field. Join us in honoring these remarkable contributions. Reserve your seat now at cipherbriefhonors.com.
And I should have said at the outset, I left out a very important detail about what he does now. He's the head of the Sovereign Wealth Fund of Russia. But what was it that, how did he and President Putin first connect, as far as you know? How did they come to start their relationship?
Again, you should understand that Dmitriev belongs to this next generation of Russia's politicians. Yeah. The main figures, Sechin, Patrushev, Bortnikov, Shoigu, are all over 70. Dmitriev turns 50 on April 12th, by the way. Mm-hmm. So you could call him...
We'll send him a birthday card.
Yeah, you could call them, the kids of the Putin elite. Yeah, and that's probably the most accurate label. He is closely tied to Vladimir Putin's family, and that's what answers your question. His wife, Natalia Popova, she's a close friend of Putin's younger daughter, Katerina Tikhonova. And Natalia Popova works at, it's called Innopraktika Foundation. Mm-hmm. She also appears on the state-owned Russia 24 TV channel. Then Dmitriev also served for quite a while on the board of directors of Sibur, alongside Kirill Shamalov, Tikhonova's former husband. So he had built a reputation as a skilled negotiator and lobbyist with, I'd say, considerable influence over political processes in the Kremlin. He had also been the subject of multiple investigations, including accusations of leaking insider information. He's very, very well off. Mm-hmm. I think in 2021, his earnings exceeded 140 million rubles. We could do the calculation in dollars. Now, ruble, I guess 70 rubles to a dollar. Something like that. Yeah, and he owns multiple high-end properties in Moscow. Mm-hmm. And again, answering your question, the reason for his really quick rise was his close ties to Putin's family. Mm-hmm. Also, we should remember that he was born in Kiev. He was born in Ukraine. Right. And back in 2011, the times when we met, he was still a citizen of Ukraine. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly when he and some other people in Putin's entourage persuaded Vladimir Putin to appoint him head of a new foundation, a new business foundation, so-called Foundation of Direct Investments. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly how it happened that he became this close to Putin, not only in terms of family ties, but also in terms of business relationships.
Now, he comes here this week, and it sounds like he really has been making a business pitch more than well, let me ask you. I mean, what we've read in the public reports suggests that he's talking a lot about all the money that, if the West had not sanctioned Russia, that American businesses could have made I don't know where he gets this number, $325 billion in the last 3 years. That if they come back, there's billions of dollars more to be made. He's talking about critical minerals. Is that his, it doesn't seem to be anything right now anyway that really relates to the Ukraine war itself.
I believe Kirill's current mission is, bluntly speaking, to corrupt Trump, or at least people in his inner circle who have influence over him. The idea is to offer them some lucrative joint ventures that would motivate Trump to advocate for peace terms in Ukraine that favor Putin, and more broadly to support a new world order aligned with Putin's interests. Again, Tom, I think we spoke about that, but let's be clear. For Putin, Ukraine is not the main issue. His real goal is a global arrangement in which he is officially granted the right to do whatever he wants in his backyard. Mm-hmm. And that backyard includes the entire territory of the former USSR, as well as the former Soviet satellite states in Eastern Europe.
Hmm.
So I'd say that Dmitriev's ultimate goal is to get Trump to agree to this vision. And the minimum goal is to create the appearance of active cooperation and Putin's willingness to be friendly and share the world with Trump and his elite,
Hmm.
just to drag out the negotiation process over Ukraine.
So maybe that's the answer then, but let me ask a different question. Um, Vladimir Putin could send his foreign minister Lavrov. He could send, his U.S. ambassador. He could send a lot of people to the White House to have these kinds of conversations. But he chooses a guy who really has no exact port. Well, he runs a sovereign wealth fund for Russia. Why is that the person who and by the way, I should say, this guy is under sanctions. The U.S. Treasury Department lifted the sanctions for 7 days so he could come and go. So it seems that just about anybody could have come. Why did Putin choose him for this mission?
Well, again, all others, those anybody whom you mentioned, are also under sanctions, right?
Right.
So here we don't see any differences.
Right.
The thing is that Putin believes that Dmitriev has stronger ties with American elites because he, as you mentioned, he went to the U.S. on an exchange program. He graduated from Harvard Business School. He has a lot of acquaintances. He has very close ties to some Trump-affiliated business people. And by the way, it was just a couple of days ago that Alexei Navalny's team, that he has his team, and Alexei Navalny, Russian politician, was killed in Putin's prison. But his team still work on investigations, documentaries. They have 3 YouTube channels. So a few days ago, they posted a new investigation about Kirill Dmitriev, and they mentioned that it was him who met with Trump's envoys back in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that the whole thing just happened a few days ago, or a few weeks ago, or a few months ago. Dmitriev was already on behalf of Putin trying to build bridges with the Trump administration back in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And there is strong documentary evidence to that.
Okay. Anything else you want to leave us with before we end the conversation about this man, who, again, I don't think any Americans really know?
Well, again, I think that every American should understand that Putin does not want to end war in Ukraine. I mean, the only terms on which he's ready to end this war is provided that Trump not only promises him personally, but announces in public that Russia, just like the Soviet Union back in the day, has rights not only to Ukraine, but to all the post-Soviet territories, all republics of the former Soviet Union, and pretty much all of Eastern Europe. That's the only condition on which Putin is ready to end the war in Ukraine. If not that, he's interested in continuing the war as long as possible because he believes he can still win. He believes he can still take the whole of Ukraine. He still believes he can take Kiev. And so, again, he's interested in dragging out the peace negotiations. So that's what Kirill Dmitriev is there for. This is what he's there for. And all this talk about Putin who wants peace, who is ready to sign any peace agreement tomorrow is, again, we're not using profanity here, so I'm not going to say the word.
All right. Stan Kutcher, it's always great to have you with us. Appreciate your insights today about Kirill Dmitriev, Russia's envoy, who has been at the White House this week. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Tom.